Round 7, I believe, with this xs650. I'm changing things up today. I'm going to deal with the machining first before I finish putting the engine back together. And just like I'm not a mechanic, it will be painfully obvious to anyone who is that I am also not a machinist. But I do happen to have this antique lathe that I bought several years ago. It appears, if you can see that, this guy's over 100 years old for sure. I've had it for maybe 15 or so years. I've used it quite a bit to make things that I couldn't easily buy, and it's been pretty handy. But it is old, it's not perfect, and I'm not that good at machining, so I can do enough to get what I need out of this thing, but I'm not doing anything fancy. Anyway, I'm gonna do that, and then I will get going back on the bike. There it is. It's not perfect, but slap this O-ring on there and it should work. Right up in there. And then the set screw. Seems good to me. It's not going to go anywhere. Got the timing advance, that plug. I pulled the cover off and made sure everything was good on the inside after putting that in. Made sure it's nice and solid. And I've got the timing here, the points put on. But all of the screws in here are stripped, and I mean, this is probably as old as the engine, so what's that going to make it? 44 years old? Who knows if it's going to work. So I may have to pull this out and put the known working one in. Once this engine's together, I'm just going to pull the engine out of my frame and drop this in, because I know that all the components that are on the bike work. So all I need to do is put this in, and if there's a problem with the stator or if there's a problem with the points, I can swap that out with what's on the engine that does work, and then from there I can figure out what's going on. But for the most part, I'm hoping this is all going to work well enough to just see what's up with this engine. We have a problem. This little guy was sitting in the bag with the timing stuff, but the pins for the timing stuff are there. They're already installed. I double checked, I took it apart again and looked. So I don't know where this came from, but one thing I do know for sure is they don't make these for no reason. These are one of those things that have to go back in the engine. This is bad. I have no idea where this is supposed to go. I'm gonna check the book and see if maybe it says something somewhere, but the only other place I can think of, since it's not needed for the timing, would be in the oil pump. But I didn't take that apart anywhere near when I took the timing stuff apart. So it wouldn't make sense for it to come from the oil pump and end up in the bag with the points and the timing advance. So I have no idea what this is from. That sucks. Well, I had to check the oil pump, and you see right in there, pin's in there, and it's way too long to be the one I found anyway. I'm at a loss. I really have no idea where that thing came from. I mean, I put everything in bags. I'm careful about labeling everything. I'm making sure everything goes in the right bag. Where could it have come from? Well, things are looking way worse than they were at the beginning of the day. It's all because of this guy. Still don't know where it goes. And I'm gonna have to keep on taking stuff apart until I figure it out. So if you know where it goes, let me know. I really don't know what else to do. I'm just gonna have to strip everything right back down. Okay, so here's where we're at right now. I have this mystery dowel that was sitting in the bag with my... Oh crap, I just dropped it. Good thing I found it. Okay. So it was sitting in the bag with the timing advance and the points system. The piece that has dowels on it has both of the dowels it's supposed to have, so it didn't come from there. I checked the oil pump, and it didn't come from there. I took everything apart to look at the shifter mechanism, and it didn't come from there. Those are the only places I can think of, and looking at the manual, that's all I can find for places that this thing could have come from. I'm starting to think that it must have come out of the other engine I took apart and will never be putting back together, because I can't find anywhere for this thing to go. But in the process of taking everything apart to check for the location of that, I realized that this shift adjustment, the position adjustment for this guy, wasn't set right, and when I tried to set it, I found out that the nut that goes on it, the lock nut, had been backed off way too far, and had actually gotten the threads damaged, and it took an impact driver to get the nut off of this screw. And you can see I damaged the screw just trying to do that too. And it of course screwed up all the threads on the screw. And since this is not a normal bolt, I can't just go buy a new one. I have to either re-thread this or fix the threads, or I have to find a replacement. I of course don't have a tap and die that fits this thread. So I'm gonna check the box full of parts for the engine that isn't going back together, and hopefully this adjustment screw is actually in okay shape from that bike, and then I can just throw everything back together again. But I still don't know where that dowel came from, and that's gonna haunt my dreams for sure. Well, there's a little bit of good luck. I did find the other adjuster screw, and it's in surprisingly good shape considering everything inside that engine case was totally rusted. I had to work pretty hard to get that nut to move on this one too, but it is moving, and I should be able to get everything set up properly with that. Still don't know where that pin goes though. Alright, I I've taken this thing apart again, checked everywhere that I can think of that maybe that pin came from. I checked the manual. There's no other places that are, like, none of the diagrams have another pin in them. There's nothing mentioned anywhere. Near as I can tell, the mystery pin is just going to remain a mystery. Maybe one day this engine is just going to seize up on me because something came loose. But I can't find the problem. I can't find where that thing goes. It must have come off another bike. There's nowhere for it to go on this engine. I have checked. I took everything apart and looked. So now it's back, putting everything back together. I got the shifter adjusted properly so that now it is going to shift. I've got this aftermarket oil filter deal to put on because I can't get the proper oil filter for that anymore. So I'm going to have to put this other adapter on because then it can take a more common oil filter. That will happen later on. I'm not going to worry about it right now. Just going to finish buttoning this thing up and be done with it until I throw it in the engine, or until I throw it in the frame. I was just about to bench test the starter before I put it into the bike, and then I noticed this hole. I don't know what would have done that, but I'm guessing it's not good for the starter. Anyway, let's try it out anyway. Yeah, it goes. All right, I'll put it in the bike. I just want to put in the starter for testing the engine anyway. Once I know it's good, I'm going to pull that off and block the hole that the starter stuff goes through, because who needs it? My other bike doesn't have one. It's great. You know what? I know what that is. I'm going to check this other starter first. I have another starter right here. We're going to take a look at that one before I do anything. There we go. This starter looks better. This bracket was knocked off of the other one. Yep, it works. I'll put this one on the bike. Here it is. The engine is back together and finished. There's the mystery pin. Still don't know where that came from, but I'm feeling pretty confident that it's not actually from this engine. So maybe I'll be able to get it put into the frame soon and fire it up. Is she pretty? No. It is not pretty. It's all rusty still in a lot of spots, a lot of things that could be cleaned up. Never did get cleaned up because, quite frankly, I don't care that much. But it's going to run. I don't know if it'll run well, but it will run. And then from there I can figure out what it needs to make it run well. And I know what things inside this engine are going to be due for replacement soon, so I can make those plans. I might get it into the frame soon, hopefully in the next few days, but I do have some welding that I want to do on the frame once I pull the engine that's in there out. So that's the plan. Hopefully it'll happen soon, but who knows. Now, what did I learn from this? Well, contrary to the way it may have seemed, I've actually rebuilt a lot of engines and I've never really had any trouble with it. What I learned is that trying to make videos of something you've done a dozen or so times means you're going to make a lot of mistakes doing that thing that you know how to do. So this was definitely a chore. I'm going to keep making videos as I put the bike into the frame and put the engine into the frame and start it up and everything, because that's going to be the payoff here. An engine's cool, but it's better when it's in a bike. So I'll keep documenting that stuff, but probably more of this short, here's what I did sort of stuff, rather than what I did at the beginning of this, where I was filming basically everything and then trying to figure out how to make that into a video. I know no one wants to watch an hour-long video of me working on something. That's not fun. So it's probably going to be more this style from here on out. Maybe I'll get a little bit of action shots of stuff happening, but for the most part, I'm going to try to keep the videos pretty short from now on. Anyway, engine's done. Hopefully that missing pin, or that mystery pin, isn't something that actually belongs in here. If it is, I'll be in trouble. And if you know where that thing came from, if you know these engines and you know where that pin is supposed to be, let me know. All right, well, see you next time.